What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. In today's video, I want to get into a story about Will McDonald and a surprise starter on the New York Jets defense. So let's get into it. Yesterday was the first day of training camp for the New York Jets, and there was a surprise starter on the defense. As we are all well aware of, Haason Reddick is not in attendance for training camp yet. He is supposed to be a starter slotted in next to Jermaine Johnson. So what was supposed to be Haason Reddick and Jermaine Johnson was not the case yesterday because, well, one of those two guys was not there. Haason Reddick not in attendance. So Jermaine Johnson was one of the starters on the defensive line. And if you were to throw out a guess, who would you think the other starter would be? If you don't know, the assumption, at least I thought anyway, was Will McDonald, the first round pick from the 2023 draft class. He was expected to have a bigger role in 2024. That wasn't the case. It was Michael Clemens that was running with the ones next to Jermaine Johnson in the absence of Haason Reddick. Naturally, people began to hit the panic button, and I get it. I don't necessarily agree that Michael Clemens should be the one who is starting and Will McDonald running with the twos. Now, if Haason Reddick's in the building and Will McDonald's a part of the second string team and rotating in with the ones, completely different story. But I think just looking at the two last year, different sample sizes, but I think it was pretty obvious that Will McDonald was better in a smaller sample size. Michael Clemens played 35% of defensive snaps in 2023. He finished with half a sack, 27 tackles, and missed 16.1% of his tackles. So he had a high missed tackle rate. Now, granted, with not playing a ton of snaps and not having a ton of opportunities, that number looks a little bit more inflated. And he played 157 pass rush snaps and had 8 pressures on those 157 pass rush snaps. Now, for Will McDonald, he played just 19% of snaps, which is a really low number. But on those limited snaps, he ended up finishing with 3 sacks, which is more than Michael Clemens, and he had 12 total pressures on just 99 pass rush snaps. So he had 4 more pressures than what Michael Clemens had on 58 less pass rush snaps. So again, not really surprising, but Will McDonald I thought was more productive in 2023 than he was in 2023, more so than Michael Clemens was. So that begs the question, is it time to panic? When you're seriously hurt, your injury could be worth millions. Morgan & Morgan doesn't settle for lowball offers. They achieved significant verdicts in the past couple of months for victims involved in life-altering car crashes. It only takes a few short minutes to see if you have a case, and the fee is absolutely free unless you win. Over 3 million people like you call them every single year in their time of need, and they've recovered over $20 billion for their clients over the years. If you've ever gotten seriously injured, your case could be worth millions, and you're only a few clicks away from potentially changing your life. It's so easy. You can start your claim now with Morgan & Morgan at forthepeople.com/Matt, found in the description, or by scanning the QR code on your screen from your phone's camera. You can contact Morgan & Morgan today. The answer, at least in my opinion, is no. At this time a year ago, if you don't remember, do you know who was considered a bust at that point? Second round pick Joe Tippmann. Joe Tippmann was running with the threes behind Connor McGovern and Wes Schweitzer. Naturally, fans were very quick to jump on Twitter and talk about how much of an abject failure it was to draft Joe Tippmann. Now, when was his first start? Week 3? He got into the lineup very, very early, and he's projected as a starter in year 2. Now, maybe you're going to give me some pushback and say, well, Matt, it's year 2 for Will McDonald, and he's still not technically a starter. I hear you. I get you. I would be surprised if by the end of camp and going into the regular season, if Michael Clemens is ahead of Will McDonald on the pecking order. Now, I will admit the Jets staff is higher on Michael Clemens than I am, but I think they will slot him in kind of as that fourth guy. Hassan Reddick, I am more than comfortable saying is going to be back at some point. It's just a matter of when, not if. So when Hassan Reddick comes back, it's going to be Reddick and JJ as the main starters, and Will McDonald snaps are going to go up, and Michael Clemens snaps probably are going to go up. And a part of me is surprised with how he's looked the last year. I thought as a rookie, Michael Clemens was serviceable, but last year I thought he struggled. But the Jets staff, they really like him, and I think they're assuming he could fill the John Franklin Myers role a little bit. So JFM, very versatile piece, could play outside, could play a little bit on the inside as well. And they unfortunately lose him. He's in Denver. They trade him away during the draft weekend. So now Michael Clemens is going to be asked to fill those bigger shoes. Stylistically, McDonald and Clemens are very different. But I think for this Jets defense, especially when they're in the second half of games and trying to close out games, I think Will McDonald is going to get an increase of snaps at that point. And that's when I think he can register those sacks. So while maybe at the end of the day, he doesn't eclipse 50% of snaps, I think probably my guess is he's going to be around 40 to 45% of snaps this year. I would not be surprised at all if we see him rack up like 8+ sacks this year, just because of the position the Jets are putting him in. He's going to be their closer. Remember what Robert Saleh called him? A game wrecker. Hey, game wrecker on the phone. That's the role that they're going to put Will McDonald in 2024. So again, I don't think it's time to panic yet. I get it. It makes me slightly uncomfortable as well that he isn't ahead of Michael Clemens at this point, but I'm not selling my Will McDonald stock yet, and I don't think you should either. Let me know your thoughts on the subject down below in the comments. I'm Matt O'Leary. I'll catch you next time.